Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cyclocross Social podcast. Today we're going to be discussing the 8th and final round of the Superprestige, which took place in Middelkerke. Issam, thank you for being here to discuss the Noordzeecross.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
On the men's side, Iserbyt was already sure of the overall victory in the classification, but he was eager to finish it off in style by taking a victory. But for the first part of the race, he was not really in contention for the victory. It was Nieuwenhuis who opened an early lead in the race. There was a chasing pack behind him. First it was Joran Viseur who tried to bridge to Nieuwenhuis. He actually came to 7 seconds, but then faded, then had chain issues, and then I'm not even sure if he finished the race. I think he DNF'd after he needed to run like half a lap. A group of 3 riders formed behind. That was Iserbyt together with Iserbyt with Van der Haar, and then Vanthourenhout eventually made his way up there. In the start, Vanthourenhout was held up after he got into a verbal argument with Kamp and Pim Ronhaar. It was a very weird situation going on there. But once Vanthourenhout was there, he and Van der Haar were pacing. Iserbyt for the best part of 40 minutes looked to be struggling to following the two. But then all of a sudden, the young man was awoken by something, I don't know, maybe some cheers by a spectator or a song coming on. But Nieuwenhuis completely imploded. Iserbyt stormed to the front, passed Van der Haar, passed Vanthourenhout, bridged 25 seconds in one gap to Nieuwenhuis, overtook him, and then looked to be ready to take the win. However, Vanthourenhout didn't give up without a fight. In the penultimate lap, Vanthourenhout came back to 5 seconds on Iserbyt, but had to let Iserbyt go. Iserbyt took the win, his 49th of his career, ahead of Michael Vanthourenhout, and Joris Nieuwenhuis ended third. Very weird implosion there by Nieuwenhuis. He said after the race he had a bad day and that he felt it coming, but he just loved the course so much that he just kept going. I'm not sure I've ever seen an implosion as big as this. This is like a massive bonk. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen something like this in a single cyclocross race. It's from being in the lead with 30 seconds for like the best part of 2/3 of the race to ending third 40 seconds down on Iserbyt. And then how does Iserbyt do this every single time? Like, I can't count how many times I've thought Iserbyt is out of a race and then somehow he still wins it. And today, definitely a remarkable comeback by him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that he came in his element the moment that he saw that there was a chance for him to get a victory. And I think that he summed it up quite well in the post-race interview as well, because he knew from last year, he said that it was a hard course and a difficult one also with the circumstances that it had last year. And this year he felt that it was kind of the same. So he tried to be a little bit, easier with the pace in the beginning and paced himself very nicely, I would say. And it definitely helped that Nieuwenhuis didn't have his day and really kind of imploded. That is something that I haven't seen in recent times, especially for someone in the lead. We have seen it in the midfield a little bit more, but this was definitely somewhat exceptional. And especially on the way he was riding the first couple of laps, I was like, this is gone. The race is over. Nieuwenhuis is going to win it. And we're going to see a great battle for second and third with maybe Vanthourenhout, Iserbyt, if he was able to get himself back to the front, and maybe with Van der Haar also. But that changed very quickly, basically in one lap, and that was all that was needed for the race to be changed. And then Iserbyt passed him quite quickly, and Vanthourenhout was also able to pass Nieuwenhuis, and that was all that the race was done. So I think, for Iserbyt it was a very, very strong race, and surprising in a way, because if you look at how he was racing at the Worlds, I thought that today was not going to be his best day, and it looked like that, but he found something and was able to bring that victory home. But he was saying that it took a lot of energy, so I'm interested to see what he will do tomorrow.
Well, earlier this week in Maldegem, the exact cross, he won in a similar fashion. He was on the back foot. I mean, I don't take that race serious. It's a circus event just through the parks. I mean, it's fun, and normally the world champion shows its jersey for the first time there. So I get like the right to exist of that race, but it's like super hard to overtake. It's not really a serious race, but Iserbyt there was also just in the pack for most of it. Then Ronhaar crashed in front of him, and from the lead he just didn't let Vanthourenhout pass him. If you keep the pace high there, you win. So As you say, he didn't really have a good day at Worlds. He has said earlier that he wasn't even sure if he would continue a season after the World Championships because he's been feeling tired and just done with the season ever since January. Interesting that he now takes 2 wins in a row. I mean, you really know it's post-World Championship season when Iserbyt and Vanthourenhout start getting the Paul Sousa 1-2s again. Normally, it's almost tradition is something that they do that. It's not as bad when Sveik was also there and made it a 1-2-3, or remember that pathetic time when they were fighting Van der Haar for the overall Superprestige win, and Vanthourenhout and Sveik almost need to come to a bloody standstill to let Iserbyt stay with them. It's always weird races here after the World Championships, and that's why I also don't attach any value to the results that are scored here, because you can just see a rider like Ronhaar peaked for Worlds last week, and he's just completely done now. He's tired, and then you have a good day, and you can have a bad day. So I don't really add any value to that 8th place of Ronhaar. I'm not going to be talking like in the beginning of the season, where's the consistency or anything. It's just the tiredness from post-Worlds which really influences these races. Vanthourenhout's race wasn't really influenced by tiredness, it was more influenced by an argument in the first lap. Issam, what was that with Kamp there on one of the first hills?
From what I saw, it probably was something along the lines of Kamp trying something on the inside there of Vanthourenhout. What Vanthourenhout said at the end of the race, it was probably something that happened already in Maldegem that irritated Kamp in a way, and then he wanted some revenge, or at least try to give him back the favor that he got in Maldegem. He tried to go on the inside, and Vanthourenhout blocked him there, and now he was keen to return the favor. But yeah, it was very silly, but very typical for the end of the season. I think both of the guys are kind of done already. They have to, because for the classification and all that, and also just to still get some money on the account, and you're a cyclocross racer in the end, so these are races that also count. But you could definitely feel there that for them it was a very long season and they want to kind of end it already. But yeah, very weird. And also the way I didn't really understand it. I thought we might see some fist being thrown here, but fortunately we didn't see that. And
unfortunately, I need some big spice and pepper, some Rob Peters style fights in Hamme.
I know, but it's like for. I feel that cyclocross is not really a sport where you should be throwing your fist. Then you should maybe try boxing or do something else. I think then that would be the better sport for an athlete. I think you have to. I didn't like that overall. I really felt that it was like some big guy kind of stands and being like, what do you have? And I don't know. It was a bit. I don't think there's any place for that in the sport, but I don't think we should be exaggerating it also. It's just the circumstances that led to it, and I think Vanthourenhout said it well. They have to talk about it, and then everything will be good in a way. But I feel, and I think that Vanthourenhout said it himself also, that really kind of costed him a better chance to be with Iserbyt in the last lap, because he really had to spend some energy there, because there were a lot of, he didn't lose so much time there, but he definitely lost a lot of places there, because there were quite some riders that passed him before he actually got back on his bike and went along with his race. And I think that definitely played a role in his second place. And what I definitely thought in the end, that was, I kind of understood it, but I was also a bit confused by it, was that he was a little, and I really have to emphasize on a little, annoyed by the fact that Iserbyt didn't wait for him. And in a way I can understand it, because obviously you don't have a lot of moments where you can actually finish the race 1-2 and maybe cross the line together, have a very good picture. But I feel like he probably wanted Iserbyt to gift him the win, which in that case, that would make things very awkward. And I think that Iserbyt just showed that he was the better guy. But I feel that Iserbyt could have made a gesture, wait for him, and then you go on the finish photo kind of together. I think that is a memory. As you said, this is not a race that is that prestigious or something, but I think that the picture can definitely be a very nice souvenir from a very good season from both guys in a way. If you look especially at Iserbyt, for Vanthourenhout, it's just a weird season with some very good results.
I mean, there's already plenty of those pictures in the office of Mette Penningen, so I mean, they were fighting for it.
We need
so
more.
no, Vanthourenhout really shouldn't complain. I mean, to me, it looked in that incident that he pulled the wheel of Kamp, and maybe that's a reaction to something that happened in Maldegem. I was, of course, only joking about that. We should have seen a fist fight there. As you say, there's no place for that in the sport, and this was also weird. Kamp stood there for a solid 10 seconds, and it clearly influenced the race of Vanthourenhout, but at the same time, Vanthourenhout did look to pull that wheel, so he really shouldn't complain. Like, why does Iserbyt need to wait for him? I don't think he needs to wait. Iserbyt can do whatever he wants, and Vanthourenhout certainly shouldn't expect to be gifted a win here, because Vanthourenhout already got gifted one win this season by Iserbyt, and that was the European Championship out of all races. Iserbyt definitely has returned the favor to Vanthourenhout a couple of times. Iserbyt just wanted to finish off in style here, so I think in the end it's good the way it is. Vanthourenhout also didn't really deserve the win here today. I mean, Iserbyt was clearly stronger in that final lap, so yeah, I thought that was a very weird comment by Vanthourenhout in his interview. I also think in general this was not the most pleasant race to watch. Definitely for me, always the excitement after Worlds goes down. There's nothing really more on the line. Even if there is something on the line in the classification, it doesn't really excite me. And I think part of that is also just in the way that the broadcast is brought to us. I feel we lack the visions of emotion. It's all pretty plain. For most part of the race, we just watch Nieuwenhuis at the front rather than actual battles for positions. I feel like graphically, cyclocross can do much better. Like, there is live timing, there are lap times. Why don't you cook up a graphic which shows me, hey, this lap Iserbyt was 25 seconds faster than Nieuwenhuis. When I'm watching it, I would actually like to know if Iserbyt accelerated and puts in a blistering lap time, or if Nieuwenhuis completely blew up. I haven't found lap times, but I assume Nieuwenhuis blew up simply because I looked at the lap times when they show the timer when they come through the start finish. But the cyclocross broadcast can definitely improve a lot to make the viewing experience more pleasant. And I think I already mentioned some of this in the podcast last week, or no, I might have written it on Threads or on X. But in the mixed relay, for me, one of the greatest events of the World Championships, great sprint between Sparfell and Mason. But during the mixed relay, they never showed who was actually on the course, so you were relying on the commentator. It was very hard to follow which rider was racing when. I like the fact that it's a mix, and it really gives you the opportunities to do something as a coach in terms of strategy. That's really, really nice. So I would why is there not a graphic on the screen telling us, hey, for the UK, these riders have been in the race, and for the other country, this have been in the race? If you look at other sports with mixed relays or just relay or team events, like in the World Cup of Darts, in the old format, there were two players. They played a singles match and a doubles match, and whilst one was playing the singles match, they had a camera on the other one watching on a small screen and showing their reactions. And in biathlon, there's always a camera on the teammates at the finish. So I would like to see more of that in cyclocross, slightly more, I wouldn't even call it advanced graphics, just graphics from 2024 and not from 2010, and more emotions, like show me Mette Penningen during the race. Because if you're watching on Play Sports in Belgium, you might get the interview with him, but put a camera on him. There's camera people roaming around, or show us what's going on in the pits. Show us a bit more than always the same angles, which would definitely make the viewing experience more pleasant rather than giving you the feeling, oh, this race is over, which definitely in the women's race was the case. We'll come to that in a bit. Brandt has won. Let's just... I can turn off the TV now, because all I'm seeing is Brandt go around in circles for an hour, when maybe for second place there's an interesting battle going on. Not the case today, but has definitely been the case in other races. If we look at the entire top 10, we find that behind the podium of Iserbyt, Vanthourenhout and Nieuwenhuis, Van der Haar rode to 4th ahead of Van der Putten, Adams ended 6th ahead of Orts in 7th, Ronnaar ended 8th ahead of Wietse Meeuwse and Thijs Aerts. Don't really have any big comments here, Issam, so if you don't object, we'll go on to the women's race, where we had a walkover victory by Lucinda Brandt. It was Alvarado who had the lead early on in the first lap, but she crashed, and once Brandt opened a gap up the front, she was completely gone and won by a minute and 15. Second place didn't go to Alvarado. She was in second place, but got overtaken by Verdonschot, who rode her way up there from 5th. So Verdonschot ended second, Alvarado ended third. Blowout victory here by Brandt Issam. I think she is in a good position to farm a couple of wins here at the end of the season, because this was the final race of the season for Alvarado with back issues, and I think Van Empel is doing maybe one more X2O trophy, maybe nothing. I don't really know about that. The communication has been a bit vague about that. Peters is on holiday preparing for Paris now, so Brandt in the perfect position to add a number of W's to her result sheet.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely one way to end the season, I would say. And when you have the opportunities, you have to make use of it. And I think that is kind of the charm of the end of the season after the Worlds, that some of the riders that normally do not get the chance, or were just kind of shy of winning a race, now have the opportunity to do so. And I think for Brandt, it was, before the race, she was not very sure about how the race would go for her, because she was a little worried about about the course and the technical parts of it in a way. But she managed it quite well, and I think that it definitely helped that Alvarado has been on a decline in the last part of the season. Partly probably because of her back issues in a way that are playing up, and then you're just hoping for the season to end, and it is also the last race for Alvarado, so I think for her it is definitely time for her to take some rest, because I think that she definitely had a very good season and can be very proud of what she has achieved this season. And for Brandt, it's there is still some races left, so she can kind of, the weeks that she missed out on because of the injury, she can now kind of make use of it and try to get some W's in the bank. I don't know about Van Empel, to be honest, because I think that Van Empel is going to race tomorrow, and then we'll call it also a day. He's not going to show up in Brussels. But I think that it is, today's race was not really a race with a lot of surprises. Maybe for Verdonschot passing Alvarado was somewhat of a surprise, but also not in a way. Especially if this time of the year, such a race, the motivation is very hard to find if a couple of things do not really go your way, and if you don't feel like you have the best of days. It is a little easier, and that's not always the case, but it's sometimes a little easier to say, okay, I have had enough. I will not take it easy, but I let this place go. It's okay. I fight another day. I'll fight next season. It's all good. And I feel that kind of with some riders happened, but overall we got not the most shocking results in the entirety of the top 10.
No, definitely not. And for Verdonschot is maybe a slight surprise that she overtook Alvarado, but Alvarado has had those back issues, and she said that hampered her the entire race. So in that regard, I'm not super surprised. Apparently Van Empel is on the start list for tomorrow. I know they've been back and forth on that. I don't know how accurate that start list is, because Backstedt is also on that start list, and I'm pretty sure Backstedt is not going to be racing because she was in the north of Sweden today. So yeah, Alvarado also on that start list. So yeah, I don't know how accurate that is, but for sure what we do know is that today Brandt deserved that victory, by far the strongest. Verdonschot ends, or not really completely ends it, but she continues a strong season, especially the second part of the season has been very good for her, with a second place, Alvarado with those back issues, and a third. Despite that, Brandt and Alvarado, and also Verdonschot for that matter, can take a lot of positives from this season. They will definitely start the off-season with a good vibe. Alvarado just knows, hey, I need to get a hang of whatever is hurting my back, put some more time into core, or just have a couple of sessions where people fix her back. For the rest, if we look at the rest of the top 10, as you say, not really surprising. Brandt ahead of Verdonschot, Alvarado and Ribeirol. Worst in 5th, ahead of Benveld, Van Alphen, Frank, Kant and Brouwers. Kant, definitely not a good day. I think she maybe slightly mistimed her peak. She was very good in Hogerheide, and now in Tabor and here in Middelkerke hasn't exactly been up there with the best. But Issam, what do you think about Vorst? Vorst came here with a remote shot of winning the Superprestige. She didn't do that. Alvarado won the overall. She ends 5th. It's not a horrible result, but it's also not a good result if you look at the quality of the field. Her results this year in the real big races haven't been that good. It's also not been horrendous, but it's like between the 5 and the 10 mark, with often, if everyone is there, including U23s, being lower than that 10 mark. I don't think Vorst is going to go into the off-season with a good feeling. This is like the second, third year in a row that she doesn't really have a great season. I mean, in the 2020-2021 year, she had a bad year, but at least at those World Championships in Ostende had that good result. Then she had a relatively good rebound season when she won in Kokseide, was on the podium a number of times, missed Cyclocross Worlds in Fayetteville because of COVID. And then now for 2 years there's been this story about lingering issues with a knee influencing her, and then it's not really a factor, and then it is a factor, and then it isn't a factor. I don't really know with what feeling is Vorst going to go into the off-season, because I can't imagine it being good, and how should she approach the next season?
Well, probably not the same as she approached this season, because it didn't really bring her that much. So I think that when you hear a rider, it's not always the case, but sometimes it is. When you hear a rider not really sure of what the issue is, it's the knee, it's the back, it's this, it's that. It's most of the time they're searching for a reason why the results are not there. Maybe they see that the numbers in training are not that bad. They see that overall they are capable of doing good numbers, but then they enter the race and it doesn't really show. I feel maybe that could be an issue. It could also be an issue that there's just a lot of pains over the complete body in terms of the back and everything, and maybe just having some issue that still hasn't been found. I don't really have something clear on that, and I don't know. It's difficult to approach a next season in a way, because, as I said, maybe you have to change it up, but that's a risk. If it doesn't really work out, it's another season that you kind of lose. The years are also counting in a way. It's not that there is a lot of progression that can be booked, but I feel that she definitely can do something that Alvarado was able to do. But the question is that coming, or is that not really going to show in the next couple of seasons? And I'm afraid that it might not show, and especially because of the level just overall at the top of the women's category getting better and better, it's going to be difficult. But if I was her, I wouldn't give up. There is definitely some time, and it's going to be interesting what next season will bring. But for the moment, it doesn't look good, and you definitely, you would try to finish the season on a good note, to at least have that feeling in a way mentally, to overcome the season break and try to regroup, reassess, try to find something that might work out and get stronger in the next season. And I think for her that's probably the way to go. Maybe find some positives at the end of the season, find some positives from this season overall, and try to build on that and hope for the best, because that's basically what you can do. You can work very hard and hope for the best, and sometimes then it works out and sometimes it will not work out, and that's how life goes, and that's how the life of a rider goes also.
Vorst is turning 29 this year. She is from December, late December, so genetically in the youth category she always was at a significant disadvantage compared to the rest. She was almost a full year younger than her peers. She was racing in a time when there was no junior women's category. It literally didn't exist. She really had her breakthrough season in the 2016-2017 year, when she started with a top 10 in Gieten. Then in Baal she got a 6th, and then she worked her way up to the podium in the World Cup in Hogerheide with the elites, won the U23 title, and a year later she was really juking it out up front, especially in the second half of the season, when once Maud Kapteins had kind of faded towards the end of the season. She started coming up there more and more, And then it took a bit of time to adjust, really the season after, with the Worlds in Bogense, but then especially accumulating towards those Dubendorf World Championships, that was really her season. Dubendorf, I remember a lot of people criticized her for being so upset, crying on the podium, looking upset, but if we reflect on it now, and people already said it back then, it was maybe her only chance to become world champion. She had another chance in Ostend when she came super close, but it wasn't to be. She came close twice. For me, if she's turning 29 this season, this is like make or break. I think it's going to be difficult for Vorst to turn things around simply because the level in cross is increasing on the women's side more and more. There's more young girls starting to do cycling, cyclocross, believing that they can make a career there. They're riding longer. They have a better pathway into the sport through youth categories with more teams supporting them. There's more money. The prize money is equal. It's not perfect yet, but with cross has come a very long way. Not even 10 years ago, they would only show highlights of many of the Belgian races. In 2015 or 14-ish, I recall from the top of my head, the X2O trophy, which was then called B. Postbank Trophy, was the first of the Belgian classifications to also start showing the women's races. For the World Cups, it was a bit on and off. It's for now, for me, it feels for Vorst like this is the moment for her to make a decision. Perhaps she should even thinking about leaving the Cyclocross Reds team. She's been with them forever and ever. Perhaps a change of environment could do well for her. I don't really have a clear option. Hey, you should join this team then. But perhaps for her, just a complete change of environment, doing everything different is what she needs. Because I feel if she's just going to do the same for 2 more years, she's going to be 30, 31 even. And we're going to be talking here and say like, wow, the downfall of Annemarie Vorst has been pretty spectacular.
That might definitely be something that could work out for a change of teams, a change of trainer. I think those are definitely things that could bring some new life to a career of a rider. I mean, we have seen it with Sveka, where in sort of a similar situation, definitely different in the sense that he had 2 riders in the same team that were just performing a little bit better, and he needed to step out of it. There were obviously some, the relationships weren't that great, but he needed to step out of it and he needed to, change the environment, and it worked out for him that season quite well. I mean, now he's also still in quite a struggle and has to find something for the next season, but I feel that definitely could be an option for her, but it's so difficult, especially if if the environment is very nice to you and they understand you well and everything is going well in that regard. Performance wise, obviously it's not going well, but it's very difficult to change it. It takes some courage and it takes a lot of risk as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what will happen there. I don't think that there is going to be a transfer in any form, but who knows? We'll see, and it will be interesting to follow that. How the progress will be next season.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see the parallels with Zweek. I think Betsema is at the same crossroad in her career. It's difficult moments for them. They need to make decisions. Betsema already turned 31 this year. She is even 2 years older than Vorst, but they feel like they're from the same generation, in the same boat, needing to choose. Do we go left or do we go right? What do we do with the final few years of our career? Where are we going to take it? And it will be interesting to see. I doubt that there will be a transfer as well as some. I just think that maybe she should completely reconsider her environment. Like, I don't know, Bastans is retiring, Spitz CX is continuing with a pretty unpromising junior. I don't know what the interest of Spitz, it's a broker's firm, what their interest in cross are, but if they want like pretty good visualization or visibility, they'll reward more if they pay Annemarie Vorst than what they paid Vincent Bastans this year, and then she can kind of form her own stuff, just pick her own trainer. She can have Vincent Bastans be a coach to her, not somebody writing her training schedules, but Bastans already is pretty active in coaching her during the race and in the pre-rides and stuff. It's just an idea that popped in my mind, but yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens there. For now, it looks like Vorst is going to continue the remainder of the season. I don't know. I think Betsema is also going to come out for those X2O trophy races because she's think 3rd or 4th in that classification. Vorst and Betsema are 3rd and 4th indeed there. So they can still fight there and add like 10,000 euros or something if you end 3rd in the X2O trophy to your bank account. So it definitely seems smart for them to come out for those races. Issam, tomorrow we'll discuss the penultimate round of the X2O trophy in Lille. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and it will be interesting to see how the racing will be tomorrow.
Yeah, we will discuss that. Lille was actually my favorite post-World Championships race. The course has been reworked slightly. Not sure if I'm a fan of that, but yeah, we should be in for a very nice race, hopefully in the sand there. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we will be back tomorrow. Goodbye.